Hey guys, Under here again with another war video. We're doing part 2 of the very early war aggressive war video. Covered a lot of basic stuff in that video, but we didn't really go into the more advanced stuff. So we're going to try and go through some topics today, some more advanced stuff. Been getting a lot of requests and positive remarks about the previous video, so I thought to go into it a little bit more detail. Not going to go into some really fancy stuff. I want to keep the video short again. So first thing we're going to go through today is should you war? Now, the last video I did was on with the intention of we're definitely going to war. But in this video, we're going to analyze our land and see if we should go to war. So, continuing the game from the previous video, just for consistency here, we did the typical double scout settler build. Found Egypt pretty early and decided, yeah, we're going to war, and talk through now why I did that. First thing would be the amount of chops that we've got available to us here. We talked about chops and Magnus in the previous video. It gives us, with the horses we've got available to us, it gave us the amount of horses and production we need to completely overwhelm our enemy. Another thing you should think about if you're going to war is early first meets for city-states. So if you have, or wonders for that matter, and even tiles that you settle on. So if you've got good science in your capital city at least, or in your first couple of first meets, you're going to get to the important text before your opponent does. Iron working or animal husbandry, whichever you, horseback riding, whichever you choose to do. Another important first meets are, if you're going to war, that is gold CS. You can have that little bit extra gold to fund your war with, because they can be very costly, especially if you go swordsman. So yeah, CS. Another thing to look at when going to early war is unique units. If you're a civilization, with a unique unit available to you, Rome, Mongolia, well, they don't have a unique unit, but they do have bonuses. Egypt with the heavy chariot archer here. Anyway, we're not going to go into what civs have what unique units, but if you've got an early unique unit that you can use the general to effect, classic and medieval unit, obviously that's all more reason to go to war with your neighbour. So you've decided here now that we're going to war. So the first things you want to do is to not get carried away. Now, I played it, I don't know if people might have watched the stream that I played yesterday as Hungary, where I knew that I was going to war one of my neighbours, and I saw that he had a naked settler. Now, before I took this settler, the player that was playing Brazil may have thought, okay, he's not going to war me, I'm quite safe. And he was also busy with another war, but that doesn't really matter. Anyway, the point is, as tempting as it is to take that settler, it gives him the opportunity to form a defense. And we're going to talk about support bonuses in a few minutes, but the more time that you give your opponent to build walls, build units, completely alter their game plan. So they might have been going Magnus, and now they're going to go Victor, double Victor, to completely screw you over. So in hindsight, I probably should have let him keep the settler, because he's going to build that city anyway for me to take. And also, he might not have focused so much on building units and walls. We did kill him in the end, but it took a lot longer than expected, just because I took that settler. You should bear that in mind, even with things like builders as well and trade routes. Don't try not to act aggressive to someone that you will be acting aggressive towards in the future. Give them a false sense of security. Now, depending on your, I guess, morals and how desperate you are to win this war, you can do things like I just said, false sense of security. let your opponent settle the cities he wants to settle. Maybe even accept a very early friendship. So friendship lasts 20 turns in online. If you meet a player at turn 5 or 6, you're going to give him the chance to, he's going to build a lot of settlers, more than units. He's not going to be worried maybe that you're going to backstab him. So that gives you that sort of edge on him, I suppose. So he's going to be building, he would have built like 4 or 5 cities in that time maybe. Or maybe not 5, but 3 or 4. So yeah, depending on, like, obviously you can get a bad name for yourself if you're a very active player in CPL by doing these things, but if you're desperate to win that war, bear that in mind, give him that false sense of security. Now, the times where it's a good idea to take settlers is probably in this situation. So you've scouted his land, you've seen kind of around it. You know, you've got about as much vision as I've got here. And you find a naked settler around here somewhere that you can take. We're not going to talk about chasing settlers, but you can take it. Now, it's probably a good idea to take it and then settle here, because then you've just left him on one city. You've completely boxed him in. The only other option really he's got here is here somewhere. But if you can get a unit there quick enough, you can also block that city off anyway. And he's not going to want to set up here because it's all desert. So yeah, maybe in this situation where he's completely boxed in, you want to take his settler. So when you're scouting for an early war, keep your scouts near his lands. You want to find out exactly where his strategics are, where his chops are going to be, where his builders are, and you can alter your game around that information that you found. Okay, so you found your target to attack. That's, you know, you've decided that's my game plan this game. So before you go into this war head first, this actually this example here I've got loaded in multiplayer is so perfect. Like, everything's just right for this. What I want to explain in this video. Okay, so we've got this city here near Spain. So we're worried about a backstab. So the best thing you want to do in a situation like this is just try and make friends with Spain. But try and do it without voice communication. You don't want to scare the guy here. Like I said earlier, the sooner they know that you're going to war them, the sooner they're going to build up a defense. So try and always friend the people that are on your other side. Promise them all game alliances and whatnot. Another thing you can do is play the fool against your neighbour. So if you're intentionally trying to block his settles with units, or he's wary that you've got scouts near him, just say that you're just scouting, or you didn't mean to block his settle. Just play a bit dumb sometimes. Okay, well, let's talk about forward settling now. So forward settling is a term used to describe when you plant a city that's a lot closer to his area, so to speak, than it is yours. Not really a good example here because we're so close, but I guess a forward settle for me here, playing as Sweden against Egypt, would be around here somewhere. That's, if you do that to most players, they're gonna know that you're gonna go to war. So be wary of forward settling. A good idea to forward settle. Sorry, it's a good idea to forward settle when you lock down possible strategic resources they're going to have available to them. So in this case, the horses, possibly the iron, but that's very expensive. Okay, so another thing you want to do when you've decided that you are going to go to war is to try and get scouts at least, or preferably even horsemen, around the strategic resources of your neighbour. So near his horses and iron, because obviously you want to lock them down straight away. You want to pillage them so he doesn't have access to them. The worst thing in the world is when you've decided on a horse attack and all of a sudden he's upgraded his iron, and he's going to get a load of swordsmen out. So bear that in mind as well. Strategic resource location. Other things to look out for when you are going to go to war is what district your opponent's building. If he's building something like a holy site or a campus, you know he's not on track to have swords, and well, by about turn 20 to 25. If he's building campuses or a holy site and you're nearly at horses or swordsmen, you've got that extra window of 3 or 4 turns to have the advantage on him. Next thing we're going to talk about now, city strength. Now, I don't think a lot of players know this, so this might be good to talk about for a little bit longer than I would have intended to. So the number above the city here, that indicates the city strength, garrison defense strength of that city. And that's determined by a few things. The base strength, so if we use a city here, so the base strength here, as you can see, is 10. Now that's based on the strongest melee unit that civilization has available to them, minus 10. So here we've got 26 because our strongest unit is 36 minus 10. That's the melee city strength of our city. That basically determines how tanky the city is. If I move this horseman into here now, it goes up to 36. So if you've got the melee unit, so horses, swordsmen, pikes, etc., anything but ranged and bombard units, that's going to increase the city strength. Actually, no, I think if you've got a stronger ranged or bombard unit available to you, as long as you put it in that city, it's going to be the top strength. But if you've got no units in the city, it's your strongest melee unit, minus 10. Now, when you build walls, the amount of damage that the ranged attack does of the walls is based on your highest ranged unit. In this case, if we built walls here, which we are getting next turn, the damage of the city walls attack is going to be 25. Here we've got 25 range strength. Now, when you're attacking cities, obviously you want to talk more about attacking in this video than defending, because that's the intention. Melee units do 15% of their normal damage against cities. So for a horseman, that's going to be 5.4 damage if it's 36 strength. Obviously modifiers come into that too, so it's going to be a little bit more. Ranged units do 50% less damage to cities, and obviously bombard units do full strength. Other things that affect the city strength is districts. Every completed non-pillaged district gives 2 strength to the the defense, as you can see here in Swinet, +2 from districts, which comes from this campus. He hasn't finished the holy site, otherwise that would be +4, which you can see over here. This city's got 2 districts, the holy site and the campus. We haven't pillaged that, as you can see there, and it's getting +4 from districts. Also, the capital has a building called the Palace, which gives +8. And that's pretty much everything. That's the basics anyway of what affects city combat strength. Okay, so we talked about that. So we'll talk about strength of units now. Okay, there's a few things that come into this actually. So we'll talk about support bonus first. We didn't talk about this in the previous video. So defending is a lot easier than attacking for the couple of bullet points we're going to go through now. And the first is support bonus, which is the opposite of flanking. It affects defensive units. So when defending, the unit that you're attacking will gain +2 strength for every adjacent unit. Not really sure why that's not getting support. Oh, it's because they haven't researched it probably. So if we were attacking this and they had military tradition researched. Grants flanking and support bonuses to all combat units. This archer would have 23 strength defense. Sorry, 27. Because it's got the base 25, which you can see there at the bottom of the screen, and then +2 from the chariot archer here. The AI for some reason hasn't researched military traditions, so we can't show that. So yeah, that's support. Now terrain. Terrain also plays a major part in war, and you should really look out for this also when you're deciding whether you're on a war or not. So here, this city is perfect to attack. It's surrounded by flat tiles with no features on it, no woods, no rainforest. You know, we can just get straight in there. Same really with this city here. The only struggle we'd have here is with the slow movement that we're going to have here. So yeah, how terrain works. There's ideal terrain when defending. This doesn't count for attacking. This is only defending. Can we show any examples here? Maybe this? Yeah. So if we hover over this warrior here with our horseman, we can see that it's got +3 from ideal terrain. And that's because it's standing in a rainforest. So hills, woods and rainforests give +3 each. So you can also have units on hills. Oh, we can see the defense modifier here actually. So the defense modifier here is +6 because it's going to gain +3 from the hill and +3 from the rainforest. It can't get any higher than that unless you're using things like forts and whatnot. I'm not going to go into that because this is an early war video. So yeah, +6 is going to be the maximum really that you're going to come up against. Maybe +8 actually if you're attacking. No, it would be +11 if you're attacking into a hill wood tile over a river. So yeah, just bear that in mind when you are going to war. Now there's another thing as well called unfavorable terrain, and that's marsh and floodplains. So if you're attacking a unit that's standing in a marsh or a floodplain tile, as you can see here again, defense modifier -2. A marsh can be on a floodplain, so you can actually have a -4 penalty to defending. So if your enemy is putting units on floodplains or marshes, try and take advantage of that. I think that only works for melee attacks though, or does it also work for? Oh, no, it works for range units as well. Another thing is fortified units. You can tell if a unit is fortified by the icon that's around their portrait sometimes. I think it only applies to melee units. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, so if I don't spend movement, if I fortify for a turn, that's going to give me +3 strength when defending. This only applies to defending, so you want to bear that in mind when you're attacking. Always hover over the unit and see what their bonuses are. So each turn is going to give them +3 up to a total of +6, so they can get +6 defense bonus from fortifying. So if someone's fortified for 2 turns in a plains hill, sorry, in a hill wooded tile, they're going to have +12. Now they could also have units around that can +1 each, so these defense modifiers can seriously stack up. That's why the element of surprise is so important in multiplayer war. You want to not give your opponent any chance at all to form a formation of units outside of their city. I will make a video on how to defend, and we will talk about that a little bit more. So yeah, make sure you try and force your enemy off these tiles, or at least get your units on the tiles that you don't want their units to defend on. So other side of rivers, wooded hills and whatnot. These combat bonuses obviously don't apply for attacking. You're not going to get bonus to attack if you're attacking from a woods hill or whatever. Yeah, so that's that. Another thing we want to talk about briefly is you can find all this information pretty easily actually on Wikipedia. On the Civlopedia, and that's strength bonuses against other types of units. Oh, we haven't talked about visibility yet. Let's talk about the strength bonuses first. So, swordsmen, melee units, they gain +10 strength against anti-cavalry units. Anti-cav units gain +10 strength against cavalry units. Ranged units suffer a -17 damage penalty against walls. And siege units get -17 damage against anything that isn't a city or a wall. So when it's attacking standard units. Right, so let's talk about visibility, because this can cost people their unit, especially ranged units. So what people try and do in multiplayer is try and attack before the opponent moves the unit at the start of next turn. So things that block visibility, it's common sense this really, are hills, mountains and features, so woods, rainforest again. Now I've got a few examples set up here. This art, right, so let's talk about attacking this unit here. This unit's on a flat tile. My archer here is on a wooded hill. So basically the line of sight works on how elevated your unit is. And the best way to understand it is to treat forest, rainforest, like a level of elevation. So here, we're on a wooded hill. We can obviously attack this unit because it's on flat land. Now this archer here, as you can see by this red line, this tells you where it can and can't attack. This unit can't attack this warrior because there's 2 wooded hills in the way. If one of these hills weren't woods, it would be able to attack. But because it's also on a hill. Now you can use a different example here. This archer is on a flat piece of land, so obviously it's going to be able to see what's on a hill. Just think of that as common sense. If you're looking forwards at something that's on a hill, you're obviously going to see it because it's higher up. If this was a wooded hill, if this was on a hill, it wouldn't be able to. But that's where that unit can attack that. That unit can't attack that. Now this unit can attack this unit, and that's because it's on a hill again, and that's on flat land. It'd also be able to attack it actually if it's on a hill. But because this hill here doesn't have a feature on it, it can see this unit. So I hope that explains. It's quite hard to explain, but really it's just common sense about what you can and you can't see. So yeah, that's why that's basically how vision works in the game. Hopefully that I don't feel like I've explained that too well, but hopefully I have. Now if this unit here was on a flat piece of land, I wouldn't be able to shoot over the rainforest. You treat the rainforest as if you can't see over it. Okay, the last couple of things we want to talk about again is zone of control. Didn't give examples of that on the previous video. So as we said in the previous video, zone of control is where a non-ranged or a non-bombard unit exerts a zone of control on every tile around them. So in this warrior's case, all these tiles here. Now this archer here has 2 movement, so it can obviously you can always move away from zone of control. That's fine, unless you enter the zone of control first, which I'm going to do here. So we've got 2 movement. We've got 2 flat tiles here. The grassland here, and the tobacco here. Now, with that 2 movement, we should be able to move here and then straight here again, because that's 1, 2 movement. But we can't, and that's because we've entered this unit zone of control. The only thing left we can do now is to attack or promote. Now, like we said in the previous video, cavalry units ignore zone of control. And you can also get a promotion on your archers to exert zone of control. Another thing you might have noticed in these two videos is that I haven't mentioned catapults, and that's just because they're so bad. It's just so much easier to bring a battering ram along with your units. Catapults can't move and shoot on the same turn unless they've got a general, so if I move my catapult here, for example, no road, let's just say there's no road to get over. I've used all my movement to get here. He's got two of these chariot archers here. He's going to maybe have walls as well. Obviously, I'm not going to be that bothered about the catapult if he didn't have walls. But then it just gives the opponent a chance to get 3 free shots on it, and it's probably going to die. Best just to have the more tanky units with a battering ram. Another thing to talk about is Dark Age. You can get a Dark Age policy card, which we've got here, Twilight Valor. +5 combat strength for all melee attack units. Now, Firaxis has been pretty lazy here. This does include cavalry units. As you can see here, horsemen, +5 combat strength for all melee attack units. So it does affect horses, so remember that. It doesn't affect archers. Last couple of things we want to talk about are Cabal and Akkad. These are really important CSs to Sue's early game. You can. Double experience in battles from battles they initiate from Cabal. That means your offensive attack, so defending is not going to account. So that's really important. And Akkad, that's how I say it right. Melee and anti-cavalry units do full damage to city walls. That's really important. That just basically means that you don't have to buy a ram. So yeah, if you find those 2 CS early on, bear that in mind. Anyway, I think I've covered now everything that I wanted to cover in this second video. So hopefully this and the previous video answers all questions that you may have had about early war. If not, ask away in the comments. I'm pretty active and I will answer. Next video is probably going to be about Golden Ages in the early game. I might do a video on depending. So yeah, if you like the video, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching.